Half hour being brought to you by good friends at Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf. And online at sunburymotors.com. Ford, Kia, Hyundai, the best in new inventory. Great pre-owned inventory. The all-important Sunbury Motors guarantee. What does that mean? That means they go over every vehicle on the lot. Eases your buying experience. And a terrific service department, whether it's quick lane, inspections, routine, difficult, they handle it all. At Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury, Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf, and online at sunburymotors.com. Fresh off getting the United States 3 points in the Ryder Cup, the only guy that produced, Nate Bauer. Sir, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here.
Yeah, I could tell. I mean, who wouldn't be? Who wouldn't want to be on this broadcast extravaganza?
That's correct. Specifically to talk about the Penn State Nittany Lions football team.
Yes,
can't wait.
Yes, indeed. Let's get to it. First of all, I'm sure that your communication with a certain segment of the fan base has been interesting this week. Would that be safe to say?
You know, the only thing I've demanded is civility. You know, I think it's important to treat other humans the way that we'd like to be treated. Doesn't mean you have to be, you know, sunshine and rainbows. Just, you know, a certain amount of decorum. But look, the reality is, and I'm sure you feel the same way, fans are more than entitled to be very disappointed, right? Mm-hmm. And not just by the loss,
of course,
but by the way they looked, right? Especially offensively for three quarters. Defensively, I think, you know, most people are pretty happy. I actually, I'm zigging a little while everyone else zags. I think that the lack of sacks really hurt them on Saturday night. I thought they got defensively behind the sticks quite a bit, right? Allowing Oregon into very manageable third and fourth down situations, yardages. But that's not why they lost. They lost because, you know, it took too long for the offense to really get going. And they still had a chance, right? They still had an opportunity to win that game. It didn't happen. And now there are big questions, right? Like this narrative of, hey, everybody just chill out a little bit, right? The first 3 games of the year were an opportunity to kind of work on some things, get into shape, round things out, work on the deficiencies that you have because there's no consequence to it, right? Like you can get extra work for Aller and those receivers. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. But, you know, there are fundamental issues that popped up and reappeared in that game against a really good team that I think are fair to project into the future as being problematic against future good teams on the schedule if Penn State doesn't get it cleaned up, specifically on the offensive line.
So then I will ask you, do you think what you're seeing is correctable?
Yeah, I do. I think look, like I'm a read between the lines guy, right? And there's a few things that Franklin said on Monday that piqued my interest, right? And the first, and I wrote about it today. If you're a member at Blue White Illustrated, go check it out. If you're not, sign up. There are very direct parallels happening to 2023 right now, right? Mm-hmm. Like the way that this offense is operating, the words that Franklin chose to use, talking about ugly wins, right? But finding a way to win. That, you know, I know we all have short memories, but that is exactly how things looked, specifically because of the performance, right? This original sin of the offensive line, right? Not being what is needed to give Drew Aller the time that he needs, to give the running game the holes that it needs. And so if you look through the passing chart, and it's so funny because in the moment we think something, but then you get to look at the data, and 6 of Aller's first 7 passes on Saturday night were on 3rd and long.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Yep.
That is not a recipe for success. If you want to argue that he didn't have a good game, yep, fine. That's okay. But you got to make it somewhat manageable for him. And guess what? In the second half, they did. It turned into, in the second half and in overtime, he threw 13 passes. 11 of them were on first down. Mm-hmm. And his performance improved dramatically. So yes, I think there is a little bit of that. And then the second piece, talking about whether or not there's a pivot, they got to figure something out on the offensive line. They tried to make the right side work, right, by rewarding Nolan Rucci for his performance through the end of last year, right, through the college football playoff. And then upon the return of Anthony Donka, it was, hey, is this Anthony Donka's best position to play right guard? Probably not. But is he better as a right guard than the next best right guard? And then also keeping the opportunity out there for Rucci to start at right tackle? Yeah, that's what they decided on. Now it's a real decision as to, hey, you spent all this time and energy to make that combination work. It is not working currently. So you got 2 choices. You can either double down and try to make it happen and massage it as best as you can, or you can make some tough choices and kick Donka back out to right tackle and figure out what your other options are there at guard.
All right, so let me give everybody a graphic explanation on the first down thing. All right, Penn State's first 8 first down attempts on Saturday night netted 8 yards. So that means after each one of those, it was either 2nd and 8, 2nd and 9, 2nd and 12, something, which then changes all the sequencing. Penn State over the last 10 years has averaged somewhere between 6.5 and 7.5 yards per first down play. Okay, that's the average. Now, why do I know all this? Nate knows. I keep that stuff. Okay, and so on my chart, I have it. All right, this year. Same, they're right in there. They're above 7 yards per play on first down. The last 16 first downs they had, they averaged 7.2 yards per first down play. And guess what? They scored on 3 straight possessions. It's amazing what that down has meant over the years to Penn State being able to get out of the gate with a drive. Would you agree with that, sir?
100%. 100%. And when Franklin talks about, again, this concept of playing ugly, like he doesn't care. As long as they win, that is the goal.
Yep.
Right? It does not have to be. I made the comparison on our message board. You know how par is a good score at the U.S. Open? It does not have to be sexy. You do not need a ton of birdies out there for this team, even though that's what they would love. They would love to be explosive. They would love to do all those things. But it is hell or high water time when it comes to first down. just literally, as you just said, if whatever it takes, however that needs to happen to get Drew Aller into a rhythm, to pick up 5 yards, right? Just get yourself into those manageable situations because you're cooked by the time that you get to 3rd and 8.
Yeah.
All the things that Penn State does really well. Franklin, again, talked about it on Monday. Their play action is dangerous once you get into 2nd and 2.
That's right.
3rd and 2. That's a situation, a down in a situation where you've got a lot of options and you can do a lot of things and be dangerous. You can scare people. They're not scaring anybody at 3rd and 8, right? So
nobody.
So it is Andy Kotelnicki getting Drew into a rhithm with accessible passes, the running game needing to be on the same page where it is getting the blocks that Katron and Nick Singleton both need. Look, like there's this big external conversation happening right now about how obvious it is that Kaytron Allen is the number one running back. And there is no argument for me that he has played better on the whole than Singleton. But Singleton needs to be in the game for the passing component at least. And then if you really look, right, again, take a look at the data. Outside of one carry on Saturday night, Nick and Kaytron had the same game.
I know.
It was 3, 2, 4, 4. Right? Like that is what the running chart looked like for both of those guys. That needs to be better, right? And the way that it needs to be better is not getting hit behind the line of scrimmage on first contact, right? Because Nick is a hammer and Kaytron can make people miss, but they can't part the seas. Like they need help, and that's something that they've got to be able to get figured out. Whether it's the actual performance, just the straight up performance of the offensive line creating those holes, or having the dynamism off in play calling to be able to keep defenses off balance. It hasn't happened so far really with any consistency this season. And I think that there's also the second component to this, which is they're still in a situation. Well, one, Oregon was really good, right? Like Oregon's defensive line was better than anybody gave them credit for, and that might be one of the 2 or 3 best defenses that they face this season. So on the whole, is there opportunity for improvement? Absolutely. It's just if that's the litmus test, and I think that it's fair to say that it is in terms of what Penn State's aspirations are for this season, they're short. They're short of that litmus test, and they're absolutely going to have development to get where they need to be.
Yeah, I'll throw this out there. I think an ordinary team, I think a good to very good team, a good to very good team loses that game 24-3. I think you have to have something in the tank to get that thing to overtime, don't you think?
The funniest conversation that's happening to me, or the irony that's happening to me, is this notion of, offensively coming up like weak, right? Like that they don't have it, that there's no fortitude. Well, how can that be? Not right. You don't have it in the game's biggest moments. Well, the game's biggest moments, arguably, are in the fourth quarter when they're trailing by 2 touchdowns.
Yep.
And trailing by 2 touchdowns, Penn State put together a 75-yard drive over 4 plays to get back into the game. And then, more impressively, Minnesota-esque ran a 4-minute drill that went 7 minutes to tie the game.
Right.
Including at least 1, if not 2, fourth down conversions.
Right.
So it's there. This is not a team that packed it in. This is not a team that overlooked anybody or started smelling itself.
Right.
That is not what's happening here.
Right.
And so that they do have an opportunity here against a struggling UCLA program to kind of refine their footing. But I do think it's important that they do that because it is also fair to say the environment surrounding Penn State football right now, including in that stadium on Saturday night, is toxic. It's not good for anybody, for fans, for players, for coaches, what have you, right? And I get the sentiment that if your own fans booing you really throws you off that much, then you need to toughen up. Okay, that's fine. But I don't really necessarily understand how that serves you, because Dan Lanning, after that game, talked about that crowd not being worth 7 points. I can't imagine the delight that Oregon took in hearing Fire Franklin chants.
Of course.
Right? Or boos after, and this isn't even a gatekeeping thing. It's just, I don't understand the psyche in how it, like, presumably you want your team to win. Does that help? I can't imagine that it does, but people have to make their own choices.
This is going to be a question I really doubt you can answer, but I'll at least put it out there for discussion. How much of the angst do you think is because they're getting so close and not quite there? And how much do you think the gambling aspect has entered into it?
That's a great question. I don't think it's the gambling. I really don't. I'm sure for some people it is, right? I'm no doubt. But this is a fan base that has seen what being on the cusp looks like for 10 years. And that is with 100% a lack of recognition at how hard it is to be on the cusp.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they do not get it. Right. Fans do not understand how rare that is.
I know.
Penn State, over the last 4 seasons, since 2022, has more wins than all but 4 teams in college football.
Yep.
Okay? Their winning percentage is unreal. And everybody wants to say, well, how come they don't beat the teams that are better than them, right? They never win an upset or they never win the big game. Oh, that's fine. Why does Brian Kelly not get dinged, right? Like, LSU losing to the 14th ranked team in the country is, by definition of the standard of what James Franklin and Penn State are held to, a better loss than what James Franklin and Penn State just experienced.
I know.
Right? To lose by a team that's 15th or 14th instead of a team that's 6th or 5th is in some way a better result. It's not. But people, I'm not even begrudging it because I understand why they're so frustrated. Yeah. They just want that one thing,
sure they do,
which is a demonstration for the world to see that Penn State is absolutely belonging in that conversation of the strongest teams in the country. And they have waited very impatiently for it, and they should be impatient. But also, the avenue that I really struggle to wrap my head around is, why does everybody care so much what everybody else thinks of Penn State football?
Yeah.
Like this conversation that's happening of, oh man, this, like, Penn State has this reputation now of not being able to win the big game. The college football playoff committee, when it chooses at the end of the season, and again, like, there's way too much prognosticating and looking ahead going on right now.
Of course.
But if Penn State loses at Ohio State and goes 10-2, and those 2 losses are to the 2 teams that are headed straight for each other in the Big Ten championship game, with a likely number 1 and number 2 or 3 ranking in that game, there is no world where Penn State gets left out of the playoffs. No world. At 10-2, with the 2 losses being to those 2 teams, that Penn State's left out. And guess what? That's it. That's the goal. Get to the playoffs, see what happens, right? And hopefully, for Penn State, or in Penn State's mind, being at its best, right? Being the best version of itself once it gets to that stage. There's a long way to go before they get there, but that is the end-all, be-all, is win as many games as you can to put yourself in a position to get into the playoff, and then once you get there, go on a run. Penn State did it last year. We'll see if they can this year.
On behalf of America, thank you for your 3 Ryder Cup points.
Hey, you gotta grind, Steve. That's what you got to do. It's not going to be pretty. You just got to get out there and grind.
You know darn well who was rooting for you. I was rooting for you. I'm like, go, Nate, go.
Reliable.
My friend, thanks so much. Appreciate the time. I hope in some ways it was therapeutic.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
All right. And this half hour being brought to you by our good friends at Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf on News Radio 1070 WKOK.